Let's cut to the chase. 99% of creators are doomed to spend their days in creator hell. Spending hours writing videos, planning them, recording them, editing them, uploading them, just for them to flop. Struggling to get any form of a consistent, strong viewership. And the views they do get, making them around, what is it, like 15, 30 cents per 100 views? I remember being in that exact position. I had just spent all of the day working late into the hours of the night trying to get this video done because I feel like this is going to be the one that finally blows up and grows my channel and my personal brand. And then the next day I upload and it bombs. And I'm asking myself, how long am I going to be in this cycle? Am I going to be going into my 30s, into my 40s, doing this exact same thing, hoping for some result around the turn for nothing to be there? Compare that to the top 1% of creators that magnetize that cult-like following, that are generating a full-time income off of it and have a life of freedom because they don't have to go clock in some shitty 9 to 5. They can travel whenever they want. They can work wherever they want, whether it's in an office, a coffee shop, the beach, although the beach is a terrible place to work if you've done it. So in this video, I will explain how to bridge that gap, how to get ahead of 99% of creators in around 2 to 4 months. And I know this because it's the same stuff I did to get over 230,000 subscribers on my main channel, to build a full-time 6-figure business that's been running for about 2 years now, and get what I really wanted all along, which was freedom and fulfillment, because I'm making content about things I'm actually interested in. I'm not a slave to the algorithm or a slave to high view counts. I have watched a lot of YouTube videos, and for the longest time, there was certain creators that really drew me in, really compelled me. And there was other ones that I would watch a video, get some value from it, have a decent time, but would never return to. And forever, I just couldn't understand why. I just thought, oh, well, maybe they have something that other ones don't, because it wasn't the fancy editing. It wasn't mind-blowing ideas that no one's ever spoken of before. I realize now that it was because they delivered their content conversationally instead of presentationally. The other day, I was grabbing some cigars with a friend. He has a YouTube channel. It's not very big. I want to say it's around 1,000 subscribers. He's gotten some views from ranking in search before, but really can't pull a consistent viewership, let alone monetize it. And he was telling me how one of his biggest struggles was just talking to the camera, which kind of surprised me because he's someone that in person can just talk and talk and talk about these things he knows and things he's interested in. So I asked him, well, do you have an audience avatar? He's like, I mean, kinda, I know what I'm talking about. I was like, no. You need a specific avatar. I'm talking when you look into the camera, you visualize that person on the other end receiving every single word. Because if you really want to do this conversational style I'm about to explain right, you have to have that avatar in complete and utter clarity. So if you click the link in the description, I will give you my free audience avatar generator that you can fill out after this video, and it will instantly make every aspect of your content creator process have 10 times the amount of impact it would have had if you didn't have it. So what the majority of creators do is they script or deliver their content as if they were giving a presentation to a bunch of people, just a massive crowd, no one in particular. And when people do that, typically they just have a bunch of pre-planned things that they're going to say. So they just run through a line, then 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 they're done. And never once do they have the opportunity to make a very specific connection with a single person in that audience. Instead, there's like this invisible barrier between the crowd and the presenter. Compare that to when you're having a conversation with a single person, how clear that connection feels, how tailored every word you say is for this person. And that's because 1, you have a crystal clear vision on who this is. That's why you get the audience avatar generator. And 2, because the things you say are buffered by their responses, and you tailor each sentence after the next based on what they responded with. So how you will do this is when you're writing your script, or if you're just running off bullet points and kind of freestyling, when you're delivering it to the camera, every 15 to 30 seconds or so, every couple sentences or every segment of your delivery, you need to pass it through the filter of conversating with that audience avatar. You need to think about what their response would be to the thing you just said. Therefore, that informs the next thing you say that handles their response. And it is exactly what separates the creators that can demand attention and build a cult compared to the creators that are just this commodity that throws out value, that maybe if you got the title and thumbnail right or hopped on a trend, you'll get some views, but they're not sticking around. They're not telling their friends about you. And that's because the conversational aspect of it plays on the social psychology of human beings. It plays on the psychology of the viewer, which makes them not only much more engaged, but is infinitely more likely to make that viewer attached to you and watch that video all the way to the end, and then click on another video, and then go check out your offer if you're selling something, or go click on your sponsorship so you can get that affiliate commission. They'll go follow you on Instagram. They'll go retweet your tweets. They'll follow you till the ends of the earth because now they are rallying behind you, because subconsciously they just feel like they know you. Your depth is your competitive advantage, because most educational creators or value-based creators, basically any creators that aren't just making view farming, Mr. Beast brain rot slop, that you kind of fall into the more value-based educational or motivational or inspirational stuff. Most of those creators are just regurgitating something they heard regurgitated to them, that person got regurgitated to them, and so on and so forth. And then they take that turd and polish it with high production, fancy editing, and speaking in a way that kind of hides how little substance their content actually is. For multiple years in my creator journey, I was a fitness creator. I recorded myself working out, vlogging, things like that. But eventually I realized I wanted to become more educational, motivational. I wanted to do more self-improvement content. So in 2022, I started doing just that. And I couldn't get a single video to pop off basically for the entire year. And this whole time I thought, oh, maybe I'm just doing the wrong titles and thumbnails. Maybe the algorithm's out to get me. Maybe there's a big audience mismatch, which there kind of was, but the algorithm eventually finds out who it's for. The truth is, it was because I didn't have enough depth on the topics I was talking about. I was just regurgitating stuff I heard from other self-improvement creators. And it wasn't until I started reading specific books on things like how the subconscious mind works, how to be more focused, how to be more disciplined and confident, that I began gathering the specific knowledge and specific insights on the topics I wanted to talk about. And I learned how to effectively communicate that by learning some writing strategies and persuasion strategies and teaching strategies in my content, and that gave it a measurable amount of depth. And the moment I switched to that, all of a sudden, back to back banger videos, I'm getting comments like, this is the best video on the subject I've ever seen. You're the best self-improvement creator ever. What the heck? And looking back, it makes perfect sense. Think about your favorite educational type creators, the ones you actually remember shit from, that you can recall stories, knowledge, insights that you've gotten that you didn't know before. Most likely it's because they have more nuance, more depth in their content. For example, when it comes to business, Alex Hormozy, there are so many specific things that I have taken from him, that I have learned from him, because he has a lot of depth throughout his content. Compare that to a creator I used to watch a couple years ago, Amon Geji. It was also surface level that I genuinely can't recall a single thing I've actually learned from him. And the way that you provide depth into your content is to, one, when you're actually teaching or explaining or elaborating on something, add a fair amount of nuance, and two, through perspective shifting, which means understand the beliefs in this realm, in these topics that your avatar, your viewer, has going into it, and understand where their beliefs need to be changed for them to actually see things from your perspective and get the desired outcome they have. Plus, anytime you deliver a nuance or a unique perspective that the viewer hasn't heard before, it triggers a dopamine release because it is novel. And novelty in any fashion typically triggers dopamine releases in the brain, which gives them that drive to continue watching the video, and they pay you more attention because of it. And it doesn't need to be rocket science unless you make videos about rocket science. For example, I actually lied earlier. Amon Geji did do one thing that I remember, I think stuck with a lot of people, and that was his monk mode protocol. This idea of like this certain season of life where you focus and be really disciplined. Focus and discipline has been around. It's been a desirable trait for hundreds and thousands of years. There's not much new there, but what he did is he put a unique perspective on it. He made it this monk mode protocol. He added depth to it in terms of a specific protocol with specific rules you follow out. And all of a sudden it was this new cool thing that became a massive high view video, and everyone started talking about it. But that's only going to work if you're getting the right kind of viewers to your content. The majority of creators are taught to chase view count as if it is the single most important metric in all of creator success. But what they don't tell you is Not all views are created equal. I've met guys that can pull millions of views on their content, and they will tell me that they are struggling to turn those views into an actual personal brand or an actual business that they can profit off of. Because anywhere from 80 to 90% of their viewers were low quality viewers, and that can mean they're an age group that is just too young to actually care about the creator or care about what the business is offering. It could be that most of the audience is from a certain demographic or from a certain country that just doesn't result in them actually ever purchasing anything from you or caring about anything from you. And especially on YouTube, that typically means their RPMs are much lower, which means you get paid way less per 1,000 views because the advertisers don't want to market towards those people because they don't buy anything. But in all cases, it's that they went so broad that their content is just this melting pot with all these different types of people where there is no unifying factor within the audience, so they can't create a community within themselves, and there is no unifying factor between the audience and the creator, so they can't have a connection with him, so he doesn't build that good personal brand he wants. And that's a rough spot to be in because you're basically this dancing monkey for the masses that has to retort to any means necessary to get the view counts to pay bills. And you compare that to people I know that get like 10,000 views and it completely changes their lives. I had one friend, his name was Noah. He's a e-com creator and he was getting like a couple thousand views per video, maybe 10,000 views, and he was making tens of thousands of dollars a month off that audience. Or back when I worked with a certain fitness creator, he was getting anywhere from maybe 15 to 20, 25, 30,000 views a video, which in terms of CPM, he's probably making a couple $100s a month. But because he was also a athlete or an affiliate for a supplement company and a clothing company, he was making over $50,000 a month because he had this tight-knit cult-like community that wanted to wear the clothes he wore, that wanted to take the supplements he took. So understand that if you want to get ahead as a creator, as a personal brand, understand it's not about view count, it's about views that count. And it also means adjusting your tone, make it how you would actually talk to someone. Like I'm talking like this right now because I'm talking specifically to you, not a million bajillion people, you specifically. You're my avatar. That's why you're made it this far in the video. So what you need to do is view filtering, where you have this funnel that eventually leads to the best possible avatar for your content, actually watching your stuff, and it's great. Now you can't be so specific with your packaging, with your hook, where you're like, if your name is John and you live in Idaho and you're 33 years old and you are trying to pay off your debt, click this video where I will teach you how to pay off your debt. You never get that specific, right? What you want to do is you have your idea and you want the packaging and the hook to be the top of the funnel, which means you want the packaging and the hook of your video to appeal to the broadest possible audience for that specific type of content. So you want your packaging and hook to like hit the ceiling of your industry to appeal to the majority of your TAM, which is your total addressable market. And then you have your lead, which is when you typically, if you're making an educational thing, you may be pressing on the pain points that you experience or that you know your avatar has. You may be explaining a desired outcome they have. You may be telling a specific story. You may be revealing specific news in whatever industry you make news about. But what's going to happen is the specific avatar, the high quality viewers you want, that lead is designed to pull them further in, while the low quality viewers are actually going to be repelled and not make it further down the funnel. And that may sound scary, but look, the majority of retention charts look like this. It's just how they go. But you want to ensure that this drop is all of the low quality viewers leaving, and then this maximum retention point is retaining all of those perfect avatars that ideally the best ones will make it towards the end of the video, and then they will click on the pop-up to go watch the next video. And what happens is over time you're just repeating this process. You're still giving your content a good chance of getting a lot of views and doing well, but that core group that stays to the end, that really gets pulled into your content, are the ones that actually make up your core cult, your subscribership, your fan base, if you want to call it that. And they are the ones that are going to click on all of your videos. They're the ones that are going to follow you on other platforms. They're the ones that are going to join your newsletter, buy your products, basically change your life. So I was in a mastermind call for Audience Alchemy, and I was working with one of these students, and he was telling me how he wanted to make a video about networking. And he filled out the planning template that all students have, makes content a lot easier, and then he was reading off what he put in there to me so that I can help actually formulate the video, because he's still newer to this whole process. And he was explaining a couple tactics to network. He was explaining why people should network. But what stuck out to me was 3 key points that he made about networking. Firstly, it was how bad isolation and loneliness is for the mental health of a person. Secondly, it was how the majority of high-paying business and employment opportunities come from connections, come from people you know within your circle, within your network. And lastly, how networking is the key to having a happy life because it allows you to have good, fulfilling relationships. I'm sorry to this person I just drew. That's pretty bad. And he kind of just spit those out there as random notes he took. But what I saw is that, oh, so you're telling me that networking is the vessel, the boat that takes you to this vision of this ideal life. And for his specific avatar, it's men, it's younger men trying to have a better life, trying to improve themselves. And networking is the vessel that will get them to their future vision. So if you want to maximize your content's impact and maximize the potential it has of actually having people rally behind you and want to watch all your different videos and really buy into you and support you and choose you over every other creator that teaches or talks about the things you talk about, you need to ensure that your content buckets align with a future vision, which basically content buckets are the main things you talk about in your pieces of content. It's these buckets that you just go in, grab a spoonful, and that's the video for the day. For example, for me on my main channel for a while, it was social skills / confidence, it was being disciplined, it was being able to focus, and it was reprogramming the subconscious mind. Those were the handful of buckets that I would pull from to make content. But I made sure that in every piece of my content and throughout the whole ethos of my brand, I poised these content buckets as the vessels that bridge the gap between the viewer and their desired outcome. So when you're choosing what things to talk about on your platforms, when you're trying to decide if that idea for a piece of content is actually valid and you should make it, ask yourself, does it help serve as a vessel for my audience avatar to their desired outcome? And if yes, one, make the video, but two, within the video, you have to explain to the avatar why that is, so you get them fully bought into watching the full piece. But you can do all of that and not be able to build a strong personal brand and monetize effectively if you're not staying top of mind for your audience, for your avatar. And the biggest thing is that most people struggle with is consistency because they lack efficiency. Because what happens is the majority of creators, their content is effective. It works well. They can do a really good job. It's just that they can't put it out at a consistent cadence. They can't put out enough content to get the results they want because they're too busy struggling with, well, I don't know how to package this video. Well, I don't know how to do the hook. Well, I don't know, should I do it as a vlog? Should I do it as a sit-down video? Should I record it here? Should I record it there? Should I edit it like this? Should I edit it like this? Should I do stuff? Should I just talk? And that's because they do not have a format. Think about every nonfiction show you've watched on television. If it's a talk show, they have a specific format. It opens a specific way. Then at 5 minutes in, the guest comes on, then they have the band play music, then they do the jokes, then they do this, then they do that. Everything is the same format every single time. It's the same reality shows. It opens with the new drama. It reminds you what happened on the last episode. And then it goes into the story of the drama unfolding. And then it wraps up with a big cliffhanger that makes you want to go watch the next episode. If you watch news, they may do current events in your country, then they may do current events in the globe, then they may do weather, natural disasters, things like that, and then they may do something else. But not only is the structure of the content formatted, but the actual visuals you are seeing is formatted as well. You see this a lot with talk shows. They'll be on one side of the camera, and then they have a screen or images that come up as they're talking about specific things. You see this with commentary channels. They have their intro, then they play some of the video with a specific background, and then they go back to them talking, and so on and so forth. You see this with thumbnails. If you go look at the Diary of a CEO, every single thumbnail follows a specific format. If you go look at Alex Hormozy, there are specific color rules that they use for every single thumbnail as well. That's a color format. And what happens is the more you can format your content, the more efficient it is because you're not worrying about the type of thumbnail you make. If you're Diary of a CEO, you know I'm going to put his face and then I'm going to put this quote that's like a clickbaity quote based on context in the podcast. If you're one of the political commentary people like a Brett Cooper, you have your hook and then you have the context explaining the situation, and then you're typically just reacting to clips or news, and it might be your face on one side and clips or headlines on the other. And not only does this improve the efficiency of your content, because instead of worrying about the context to put your content in, you just have to worry about the content itself, the things you're actually going to say or show or do. But in my opinion, it actually aids in creativity, because when there is complete and utter chaos, it is so hard to have these creative ideas. Whereas when you bring a certain amount of order, a certain amount of structure, a certain sandbox for you to build and to operate in, it really starts to shine. And on top of all that, you know you will build a consistent viewership because you have certain formats that the viewer comes in, likes, and then knows that, well, I now know that all the other videos this person creates is going to follow this same format that I already know I enjoy. So they're way more likely to click on your next video and your next video and so on. So if possible, have a format for your thumbnails. Have a format for your introduction. Have a format for how you film it. Have a format for how information is presented, how you're editing, so you can get more content out, stay on top of mind of your audience, and of course, see more success. But I saved the best for last because the single best competitive advantage you can give yourself as a creator is not making fancy thumbnails. It's not having high-level editing. It's not even buying a better camera. It is understanding human psychology. The majority of creators fail because they focus on what to do, mainly taught to them by other gurus, like, oh, you should make this type of thumbnail, you should copy these types of titles, you should do this type of intro or structure, but they never learn why it works or why you are doing these specific things. And what happens is you become a slave to the strategies of others. You become a slave to copying other creators. And most importantly, you can't guarantee replicable success over a long term because the market changes. The algorithm online changes. The only algorithm that does not change and hasn't changed for thousands of years is the human algorithm. For example, knowing how to specifically leverage social proof to appeal to ethos in your viewer and build your authority, your likability, and your trust, such as using subtle language to communicate certain accomplishments you have without coming off as braggadocious. It's knowing how to create certain titles and thumbnails that not only get attention, get someone to glance at them, but create this strong emotional intrigue as well as an identity resonance so your specific avatar clicks on it, but not the worst possible viewer ever that's going to mess up the demographic, mess up the retention, mess up the money you can make. It's filtering your audience by talking about specific things that communicate status, that's talking about specific desired outcomes, that's making specific statements that are by design supposed to be polarizing, so it pushes away a certain amount of people but pulls in the right kind of people. And most importantly, creating content, writing scripts, speaking in a way that taps directly in to your ideal viewer's subconscious mind, that triggers their fears, that triggers their desires, that triggers their identity or their ego, and ensures that because you understand the why behind anything, it can bear any how, it can bear any what. Meaning that because you have a specific understanding over psychology, over your audience avatar, and strategies that complement those things, you can continue creating content indefinitely, not getting wiped out by any algorithm changes, not getting wiped out by a platform getting shut down, and not losing relevancy as other creators pop up and try to go for your throne. And learning this is exactly how I was able to go from completely struggling in creator hell, to be honest with you, to having a 6-figure subscriber channel and a 6-figure business that gets me what I really want: creator freedom. The ability to work wherever I want, live wherever I want, travel wherever I want, and create content I actually want to create about things I'm actually interested in, all while having a business that runs in the background of it. And because of that, I spent the majority of 2024 creating Audience Alchemy. It's not some YouTube course. It is the blueprint to building a creator empire. So if that's something that would interest you, you want to hear a little bit more about it, you can click the link in the description. And if you want to learn more about the psychology of personal branding to ensure that you can become magnetic to the perfect viewer, click the video on the screen right now. That's it. Thank you for watching. Hope you learned something. Love you. Bye-bye.